Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Godless Season 1. Well, actually, just Episode 1, because it's a limited series, it's an event series. So, Episode 1 is called An Incident at the Creede. We will start spoiler free since it is an Episode 1. We'll give you our sort of general thoughts, and then we'll warn you about spoilers somewhere in the middle, and go from there. So, first things first, if you're on the channel already and you're expecting Runaways Episode 2 tonight, that'll now be tomorrow because we had no idea this was launching today. We thought Godless was coming on Friday like every other Netflix show. Well, 99% of every other Netflix show. And the surprise with a Wednesday launch. So here we are. So we'll do Episode 1 of Godless today. So that's what we're going to do. So, what is Godless? Godless is a Western. It's got, obviously, Jeff Daniels being the notable cast member. He's the villain, Frank, and it's largely set around a small town where most of the men died in a mining accident. So there's like, 95% of the town are females. We have the sheriff who isn't, and one or two other characters, but that's about it. And it's very cinematic. It's shot in the wide, movie aspect ratio, the 2.4:1. Of course, I'm getting that out of the way quick. Anyone who knows me knows that's the first thing I noticed.
Not what you usually see on Netflix. They usually stick to their own.
They do. I think the only example I can think of is one or two episodes of Black Mirror had this ratio.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the only one I can think of. I applaud them letting shows using it though, because I like that framing the best.
yeah.
I mean, obviously, like it's entirely up to like who's directing and shooting the shows, obviously, but just my personal preference is the wider's the better. I mean, there's a limit to that, obviously. Eventually, you get too wide, but I like that ratio the best. And it's nice to see shows do it because typically shows haven't been able to use that ratio for
No, it's
most.
only recently, really.
Yeah, it's the Netflix and Amazon that are letting them do these kind of things. Uh,
Yeah.
until widescreen came along, everything was 4:3, and then okay, 16:9 is a thing, sure, great, but yeah, why not let them experiment with wider things if they want to? So yeah, that's basically the gist of it. Frank's hunting down a guy named Roy Good who stole his money. Used to work with him. He's kind of the bit of a dark past, but seems to have a heart of gold. He's kind of that character,
Yep. Yeah,
and
definitely.
that's generally the idea. So I suppose I'll ask the question. Connor, did you enjoy episode 1 of Godless?
Yeah, it was not bad. It's quite dense because obviously it's introducing a lot of things.
It's a long episode. It's like 70 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
Not
So it's
a lot of the episodes are quite long actually, which
yeah,
I'm less fussed about because I know it's a one and done. Because I know that they're ending.
right. There's
Yeah,
only 7 episodes.
which is also new. It was 6 for a long time. They were saying
It was
six.
six. Yeah. I think one of them's been split in half, maybe because there's a 50-minute episode and a 40-minute episode.
Yeah, so they hit 90 minutes. I went, no, that's too long.
I
that's,
think that's probably what's
yeah,
happened.
yeah, that would
Um,
be it. Especially if they're
but
back to back. I don't know if they are, but
they are, yeah.
they are okay. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. So I mean, it's dense, it's long, but it looks amazing.
It does. That is the first thing that struck me
Yeah.
is the production value on this thing is staggering. I mean, obviously we mentioned the aspect ratio, but regardless of that, it actually looks like a movie. It looks like it has money behind it.
Yeah, there's a shot of some horses crossing a river,
Hmm.
and oh, it's just
The,
gorgeous.
the opening, we've got like the marshal riding through like the sort of the mist and the smoke, coming to like the aftermath of this massacre, and it's very cinematic. And then later on, there's like shots of there's there's a character coming in out of a barn, and every time they open the door, there's just the sun's just shining through, and it's very. And I think that's partly why it's so long, is because it likes to actually let moments breathe, and it gives you a lot of big
It does.
wide
Yeah.
vistas to look at. Like at one point when one character's walking away from another, it goes to this big wide shot, and it's like you see the entire horizon line, and
Yeah,
then
you just
walking
watch
away,
it for like 20 seconds,
and it's
and
like
it does that a lot, so it adds up.
it does add up, but it's like, you know what, I'm down with this because it looks, it's impressive enough that I'm not sitting going, oh, this is stupid, why are we
There
spending
are
this time?
times where they do this and it looks just pretentious,
Mm.
and there are times where you go, "No, that's an amazing looking shot. You earned that."
Yeah,
And this is, mostly is just that latter one.
yeah, mostly, yeah. I mean, I'm sure we'll find examples here or there, but for the most part, it was being impressive enough with the shots that I was not sitting going, oh, you're taking the piss
You
here.
never feel like it's wasting your time with them because you're just staring at the shot before, and even with how long they go, you still kind of it ends. You're like, oh, okay.
And I think my overall opinion of the show is that I like the first episode as well. I think it's definitely the direction and the style that has made me like it a lot. Whereas
I agree.
the story's not bad. Like the story, I think it's intentionally playing some stuff close to the chest, where it's not giving you all the information just yet.
I think right now it seems rather typical in terms of what it's doing for this sort of genre. This these sorts of characters. It kind of seems like, okay, this is familiar ground at the minute.
Yeah, a bit derivative, but it's been handled very well. And the funny thing is if this ends up being a 7-episode story where it is just kind of going through your formula, but
Yeah,
it looks
at
this
least it's
good.
going to look amazing, so
Yeah.
it's worth it.
If it looks this good the whole time, and the cast are pretty good,
Yeah, no complaints.
it's a good strong cast. So I feel like, but by the by the end of the episode, I was like, man, like the plot's like fine. It's not setting my world on fire, but geez, like every moment's treated like a cinematic kind of
Agreed, yeah. Like I
flair.
said, the plot's kind of whatever. The characters are, again, mostly quite typical as of right now.
That said,
The-
the whole outlaw with the heart of gold thing, like that works for a reason. I like that
It does,
trope.
it does. And
So-
this thing, I'm not complaining about that. It's the first episode. You got to start somewhere and build. So
Yeah.
maybe it'll go places with the characters that'll make me care a bit more.
Yeah, very possibly. But I was just I mean, I think the visuals are the thing it's the biggest selling point I think for this show. Is that,
Yeah.
I immediately, like 5 minutes into it, I was like, man, Jesus, this is just
This is one of the best looking TV shows I've ever seen.
yes.
Like, easily.
And yeah, so because of that, it's definitely getting episode 2 watched. And like I say, as much as we're saying, the plot's not setting our world on fire, it's not doing anything wrong either. Like there's nothing about it.
No,
that's-
like you said, I think formulaic is kind of
Yeah.
a word that you use. It's like, yeah, okay, you've probably seen this story before, but you've never seen it look like this.
yeah, certainly not on a TV show.
No, exactly.
At the very, very least. And yeah, so great. Especially since we had Damnation a few weeks ago. We had the pilot of that, and that was really boring and mundane. And like
That did the thing where it tried to do the longer shots, but it just ended up feeling like pretentious. Like it's because long shots are what people like in a premium show, but it didn't really understand what the shot was meant to be.
And I think that there will be people who find this boring. I think there'll be people who watch this and go, "This was dead slow." And like for the first half of the episode, like it's intentionally withholding of information. They all kind of come together by the end, where you understand how they all connect. But at the start of the episode, you're introduced to like Frank, who's going to get his arm fixed, or I should say, cut off. Like that's kind of where his story starts.
Yeah, fixed is not the right word.
And you have Roy showing up at this farmhouse where one of the other main characters, Alice, lives. Like, and she kind of like helps him a little bit, and not doesn't trust him. She makes him sleep in the barn, but like helps him a little bit. And you've got the sheriff character in the town. Like you don't necessarily get until a chunk into it. Okay, so one connects that way, and then one connects that way, and then. So for the first half of it, you're kind of just been introduced to characters without any context. You're just kind of, but it's looking so good. There's a scene after the fantastic opening where it's the aftermath of this incident. There's the trains like derailed and stuff. We have this scene at night time, and it's Alice's place, and it's where Roy first appears, and it's at night, and it's pitch black, but the lightning every so often is giving you the visuals, and it's so beautiful. It's so well shot. It's really suspenseful.
It's paced excellently in between the flashes. How often you see it, it's always the perfect moment.
And it's technique, and it's funny because she's holding the gun up, and she's saying, if say who you are, like announce yourself, or I'm going to shoot, because it's the middle of the night and I don't trust you and I can't see you. And he doesn't. We find out later it's because he's wounded. He can't. He's basically asleep on the horse. But she ends up like shooting him, and she comes over, and the lightning flashes just a little bit longer this time for when she's close to him to see his face, and it was built up so well that I was like, is she going to know who this is? Like, did she just shoot her brother or her husband or someone she knows?
Yeah.
Because he couldn't speak. And I thought, okay, so they handled that really well in that sense. So, no.
I'd like to mention the music as well. It's doing some really inventive things. I think it's really easy to kind of just fall back on the typical Western ideas. But this is doing something different. Like that scene in the massacre, it's got like this clicking, almost like a typewriter sound that it really uses as the rhythm of the scene, and it's really interesting.
Yeah. It is worth mentioning. This is actually, given what we're praising here, every episode is directed by the same person.
Good. Right. So okay, I'm sold for all of them.
Yeah. Scott Frank wrote and directed all 7 episodes. So
Hey, he might be a mediocre writer for all we know, but he can direct the hell out of things.
I think that'd be harsh to call him a mediocre writer.
Okay. I mean, I'd say for all we know, like it might end up that way by the end.
Oh sure, yeah.
But that was, I mean, he could end up a bad writer, but I don't care.
Yeah, direction is pretty great. Also, I'm going to be pay attention to this cinematographer, Stephen Maisler. I'm going to keep an eye out for his future work as well. I think just just pay attention to these names. I feel like I've found some people that I want to keep an eye on going forward. But no, so I think we'll give the spoiler warning so we can talk about plot and we can get into some of that. So, full spoilers for episode 1. So right away it sets the tone because you get the marshal comes into this town and it's very suspenseful. You see dead bodies everywhere. There's maybe a little bit hackneyed the one woman's like singing a song. It's kind of that creepy kind of thing.
Yeah, because it doesn't show you that it's a woman singing it. For a while it plays like it's just a part of the score.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just one of those things where I'm like, okay, this feels a little bit cliched, and I feel like parts of it might feel that way, just here and there because it is doing kind of the tropes.
Yeah, that's kind of what we talked about in the spoiler-free section. There are a few moments like that.
The camera then goes up because you see that the marshal's like he's had enough, and the marshal's played by Sam Morrison, by the way, who, fun enough, I believe was in the newsroom with Jeff Daniels. Funnily enough, but he's like he's distraught, and you can tell that he's seen a lot of stuff, but this is really bothering him. And the camera comes up like before we go to the opening titles. The final thing we see is a young boy, maybe like 5-6 years old, hanging from a lamppost. It is dark as shit, and I'm like, okay, right, you just set the tone. Like now,
that's it. It's like, okay, now I know what to expect.
Yeah, now I'm not thinking, oh, this will be like a romp. No. This is going to be dark, and that kind of sets your mood, and we go from there. So we're interested in the various characters. We're interested in the sheriff who has lost his wife, which I actually thought was kind of funny because the town that he's the sheriff of, most of the men died in a mining accident, so it's mostly women who are left. But he's the opposite, where his wife isn't there anymore, and and I thought that was an ironic little touch. I will criticise something a little bit here. Now, I didn't know this going in, so I didn't really care, and I wasn't really looking for it. But apparently, this was also partly sold as, the town's lost all the men, so it's all women. But most of the episode, it's mostly male characters.
Yeah.
Right? And I saw a tweet kind of like poking fun at it for that, and I was about to like sort of like go, but I didn't even know that. And then I thought, wait a minute, I watched the whole episode and I wasn't even sure that was the premise, so that kind of aids their point a little bit.
No, it does.
Because I actually went back and rewatched the scene where the sheriff comes into town, and I was like, oh yeah, they're all women. I never even noticed the first time. Every single character, there's like one man who goes past every single other person.
And it's a good point.
And they're building out like a house or maybe not a house.
I think it's going to be a church.
Probably a church, yeah.
It looks like a church building.
But it's all women building it, which for the time period is notable because that would typically be men that would be doing that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't even realise that. Now the second episode's called The Women of the name of the town, La Belle. That's the name of the town. The second episode's called The Women of La Belle. So I assume it's going to explore that a bit more next episode, but.
Makes sense.
But fair enough. Episode 1, I wasn't even like completely clear that was.
No, thing. I agree. I don't think they've. I mean, maybe it's just because that's the premise of the show in general, but they didn't really explore it yet. It's like, okay, now let's set up some characters and explore, and then the town comes next. And if that is the focus of the second episode, maybe going forward it'll kind of be a bigger role.
Yeah, I think the first thing that I'm getting. What I think is working very well, even if the things are tropey, is that they're getting kind of who the characters are in interesting ways. I feel like the sheriff, who's played by Scott McNairy, who I know from, I believe, what was he in? He was in a movie, Killing Them Softly, I think he was in that. But I think him as a character, you can kind of tell that he's... because by the way, Hawk from Twin Peaks... with an appearance. I basically popped for him. It was like, oh,
Yeah.
Hawk, yeah. But he you can tell that he's kind of out of his depth a little bit. You feel like he's going through the motions of being the sheriff. The town doesn't respect him. He really feel like he can actually take care of anything if it comes up.
He's doing what he thinks he's supposed to, but like I say, he doesn't really know what he's doing. He's just like, okay, I guess I'm supposed to do that.
So he's like that. You find out about Alice throughout the course of the episode is that most of the people in the town think, like, presumably she was somehow responsible for the mining accident because they all think she's, like, cursed or is a witch or something. Like, they all have this stigma about her. And yeah, so, and you find out as well that it was people in the town who killed her husband. Like
it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, so obviously there's more there to learn, and I'm sure we'll explore that as we go. But she actually married a Native American because her son and her mother-in-law are both Native Americans. So it's setting up these different pieces, and of course the villain Frank, who we're introduced to, Jeff Daniels. We kind of open with him coming to get his arm cut off because it's funny because you don't see how bad it is because it's nighttime, and again it's playing with the lighting, the way that it's very atmospheric lighting, and the doctor puts his lantern behind the arm, and you start to see the holes, like, and just how much of it's missing, and you just see like sort of like tendons at the side, like clinging it together, and it's like, oh god, look at half of it's gone.
I love that he takes the arm with him after.
Yeah, that was like a little moment. I didn't realize he was doing that until I give you the close up of the hand sticking out.
Yeah, and he slings it on the back of the horse. I'm like, okay, that tells me a lot about this guy. That he's taken his arm. I hope he beats someone. I think he should use it as a club and beat someone with it.
Well, even twice in this episode, not the exact same phrase, but he kind of says, "I've seen my death, and this isn't it." Like, he's so sure of himself that this is.
Yeah.
So I can almost picture in episode 7, the finale, he's going to be like, "This is my death," but before he dies, you can almost see it written in the wall before it happens. But I'm not complaining because like I'm kind of looking forward to that now because they've set it up.
Yeah, he's a pretty interesting villain because I mean I don't mean that as in he's got a lot of depth to him as a like he's not like a fully realized 3-dimensional character with all these things, but he's got a presence. He's got a presence.
He's got the collar on the preacher collar, and he goes into a church at one point and basically threatens everyone because he's looking for this Roy character.
Yeah, and again talk about the cinematography. When he's on the horse and he's up on the altar, and it kind of cuts between looking up at him and then looking out at the crowd and the light coming through the door and the windows. Oh, amazing.
Also, even just the because obviously everything's built with wood in the time period. Well, most things are, and in these types of buildings, like some of the slats of wood, there'll be like just a little gap between some of them, so you get these little thin bits of light, kind of like, especially if the camera's moving and you see it kind of like turning.
Yeah, it's nice.
Very, very, again, atmospheric, lot of atmosphere. And and obviously we know why everyone fears him because we learn later on, like the thing we saw at the start, the aftermath. Actually, just to go back to the hand and the horse, just after that moment when he's about to go up on his horse for the first time after his arm's been cut off,
and all his men are sat there on their horses,
and they're all kind of watching him, and he kind of looks around them, and it's almost like they're saying, or they're looking to see, is he compromised? Can he still do normal things like get on the horse? And it's almost like he's looking around going, damn right I can, you assholes. Like, I'm still boss.
It's a great one. They're all there, and you could almost see them pulling the guns out on him, being like, nah, we're not having this. It feels like the start of a coup. And then he just gets up, and he's like, and then they all fall in line behind him. And
it's effortless as well. Like, it doesn't even struggle. Like, I was expecting some struggling because it's the first time, and he just does it. Like, because it's almost like he knows he has to do it flawlessly.
Exactly. But then they all fall in line behind him, and that's it.
But later on, the marshal shows up to town. Nice little touch. There's just a moment where he glances at a child running along, and it's like, because he just saw that at the start of the episode, but he comes in and he explains what happened at Creede. This is, the episode's called The Incident at Creede, and it was this massacre. He was robbing this train, this convoy. And we get a flashback.
I will say that this flashback is maybe my one criticism in the direction. It's really desaturated, except the explosion and the flame, which I like, except the back half of the train wasn't really as desaturated as the rest. It seemed like that popped, and it kind of had this weird feel.
The blood kind of popped out as well. I was actually kind of wishing they just went black and white for this.
Yeah. I was okay with the key things being highlighted, the flame, the blood, but it was the back half of the train that still it still felt really green and red, but the front half was basically black and white, and there was this really weird disconnect to me.
Yeah, this is all post, so it's I won't necessarily call it direction. I mean, it's probably his choice, but
That's why I'm saying I'm saying direction, because I'm kind of holding him responsible for
it's
leaving it that way.
It's a weird touch. I kind of just wish they went full on black and white. I think
I think it would have worked better.
Yeah, that'd have been cool. I think. It's a very dark scene, of course. Like two of the men who are awful, like are going to rape this woman. And this is where we kind of see our heart of gold. He shows up because he's already been away from this gang for a while, but he shows up here and steals the money. He saves this woman and steals the money, and they all go hunting after him. And he's good enough that they sort of lose track. They reference a lot that they actually do encounter him at one point. And there's like a gunshot. That's where the arm gets shot. That's where he gets shot. Like all this goes down. We don't see any of that yet. I feel like there's going to be more flashbacks going forward.
I think we will get that at some point.
At least one episode is going to have a flashback of this conflict that happened.
I think so. Yeah.
But yeah, it gets really dark though, and I kind of liked how basically these two men, they were brothers that were attacking the women. By the way, I really love the shot as well of Jeff Daniels when she's like still hiding in the train. They've killed everyone else, and she's like hiding inside the train car, and you can see him like put his head against the glass. There's a really nice suspenseful moment. But in the town, they basically formed a lynch mob because of what's happened, and they're hanging these two brothers. But Jeff Daniels and his gang come back and lynch the entire town for doing it.
Yeah.
Which is what the massacre is. That's what it is. And it's darkish. The idea that he comes back to save these two assholes and inflicts punishment on everyone else. So you know he means business.
It's why I think he's a very menacing villain. Like I say, I don't think he's not very three-dimensional. He's kind of he's evil. Yeah, okay, he's the bad guy. I don't really get a lot of who he really is yet, but he's kind of terrifying.
Yeah, I think obviously direction plus acting is doing that. You got Jeff Daniels, who's a good actor, and you've got good visuals, and I think, I think if this ends up being just a simple good versus evil fight, and that's all it is, like it can be a technical showcase, and that can be what's carrying it, and that's okay. If that's what it is,
I
okay.
hope Netflix promotes the hell out of this, just to say, look, this is what you're paying for.
yeah. I feel like half of the intake of the last 6 months has probably went towards this show.
Like they recently put up their prices, and people are like, "Oh, really? What are we paying for? This is why you're paying more."
Yeah, that extra 50 cents.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
dollar, whatever it went up. I don't
remember. I don't even pay attention.
I just pay attention. But this is where it went. So be happy. It's fine. So no, he menacing the shit, and it kind of sets it up that he's probably coming to this town sooner or later. He'll think there's still some stuff to rob here, which there isn't, because the miners are all dead. There's no mining happening. There's no wealth here in any great extent. So it's good in that sense.
Yeah. It's like I say, he might see as lots of unprotected women.
Well, I'm of two minds about that. On the one hand, I feel like it makes you feel even more vulnerable, but on the other hand, I'm thinking, is that a bit cheap? We're just going to the women are all vulnerable.
I think it depends how it plays it, because there's we see that some of them are pretty capable. They're building this building. They're doing all the things that the town is still perfectly functioning.
Alice is good with a gun.
So maybe it won't be as defenseless as he thinks.
The sheriff's a sister, I think. It seems to be becoming a bit of a law woman herself. Because she's wearing our husband who's not here anymore, his belt and stuff. So maybe that's where it'll go. Maybe that's where we'll actually get some interesting plot. Is we'll get the idea that no, we're going to train the town to defend themselves, and that's going to be part of the story. That'd actually be kind of cool if they go that route.
I can see it. He thinking it's an easy target. It's like, well, there's no one there to stop us, and then all the women come together and kind of put up a fight.
It's kind of like the premise of the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where you think the small blonde girl is vulnerable, but then it turns out she's the badass who can kick the vampire's ass.
I like how you went to Buffy before you made the Magnificent Seven Samurai comparison here, which is the much more obvious and direct one.
It actually hurts me that you said Magnificent Seven first.
I only said that first in this context because this is a Western. Normally I never would.
Still hurts me.
I know, but
Seven Samurai
contextually, that was more relevant.
I think that's a little bit different though, because what I'm proposing here is that they specifically do it themselves, but because obviously
I know, yeah.
because those movies are still very much let's get protectors in to do
It is,
the
yeah.
main
It's
part of
the
it.
idea of okay,
Yeah.
let's come in and get the village up to standard.
Whereas in this case, it'll be the one guy with the heart of gold and the sheriff, who's a bit of a coward anyway, uh, like
Yeah,
coming
you can
together.
kind of see the moment of him, proving his worth later on, like standing up to them at the end.
And of course, like he's healing over the episode. Because I think there's a great moment when we find out his name's Roy, because we know Frank's hunting this Roy guy.
Yeah.
And we find out that scene. It's like, oh, okay, right. That was one of the connections I was talking about. So, okay, that's how these two things connect. Great. And obviously he's invited inside because the son's a bit more friendly and wants to come in and eat. And the sheriff's outside talking. Is the sheriff outside talking? No, it's not the sheriff at this point. It's the woman who's brought her baby. Her baby's sick.
With the ill baby.
Yeah, and the snake's coming for the kid, and
yeah, because they just left the kid unattended. I mean, even back then, I feel like don't do that. Even more so back then because there's snakes and shit.
Because there's not snakes now.
Well, no, all right, there is, but I think houses now are better prepared. They're better built to keep things like that out as much as possible.
Are you prepared for a rogue snake?
Damn right I am. Always.
I'm not.
I'm good. Snakes are cool.
I'll have to buy some new underwear if any snakes come calling. But no, because they set up the husband who's dead, like Alice's dead husband. His like gun belt is like sitting kind of like behind where Roy is, and like the snake's coming in, and he's still struggling to speak. He can't really speak properly yet, and he's like almost ready to kill it, and he can. And the snake's coming for the baby, and because I think this is actually the first time because later on they mention he's got a pretty good reputation for being like a good shot.
We don't know that yet.
But we don't know that yet, and he just grabs the gun out of the holster behind him and just shoots it, and we don't see if he hit it yet, but when he comes back in and like Alice grips a gun, she's like, "Oh, what just happened? Like, what's going on?" Because
it plays them out really well. Like the gunshot, it has such a sound to it because it's in this small room. It sounds massive.
Yeah, it's a big echo. Big echo to it.
Because it's only a small handgun, but it sounds massive.
Oh yeah, I get this because I remember from just years ago watching all the documentaries in the Terminator 2 DVD. The Foley for the shotgun that the Terminator uses, Schwarzenegger's character.
Yeah.
The sound was comprised of 2 cannons, a shotgun, 5 pistols, and like something else. It was like, no, the regular shotgun sound's not enough. We need to put tons of guns in it. Yeah. I feel like this was like 10 cannons.
It was huge, wasn't it?
It was giant, but it's when he comes in and she sees him with the gun and she's like, very nervous, trepidatious, making sure what's he up to. And he just sort of does this quick little movement to like flip it back round. And you can tell.
Yeah, just put down like to be clear. It's like no, I'm meaning no harm with this.
Yeah. And it's just that little quick move. It's like no. He is familiar. He knows his way around a gun. Right.
That's it. It's like I'm meaning no harm with this, but I'm showing you that if I wanted to, I could.
Kind of, yeah. And it's actually the mother-in-law who like picks up the snake whose head is just off now.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. This is just. And I like that they don't have to go through the whole scene where she's like, "Oh, you saved that baby." Oh, it's like she mentions it later. She brings it up later that they've clearly figured it out from context.
Yeah, but it's kind of obvious, isn't it?
Yeah, but we don't have the whole scene of like continuing on and like all that. And obviously, like, because part of me was thinking by the end of this episode, is he going to be hiding out in her barn for a while? But no, at the end when the sheriff's there, he walks in and says, "Hey, I'd like to turn myself in," and so much so that the sheriff doesn't even believe that it's really him. He's like, you really this Roy guy who can take out like all these men? Like, you've been in a gunfight with 30 guys and you held your own.
32.
32, there you go. Be accurate. And I'm like, I want to see this fight. I want to see how he held his own against 32.
Yeah.
Boy. Should prove entertaining. But no, I liked that stuff. I liked again, liked the cast, liked him. I mean, Alice's backstory was okay. Like some of the shot, like I say, I mentioned like walking away in the field. That was kind of her moment at the end of her scene when she explained her backstory. But it was, she didn't tell a story about her husband that she actually married that's dead now. She told the story of the first husband where she was kind of like married off to, like without her even meeting him, and how like he ended up dying. It was an okay. I mean, I think that this story didn't work as well for me because it was purely just like her telling us the story.
Yeah. yeah, it was much less interesting visually than everything else.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I get kind of the thing where she was, she after that kind of got her independence and became like self, what's the word I'm looking for? Self sustaining, like afterwards, because like the idea that she was married off to this man. Oh, this is our land now, and maybe we'll like it was definitely very
Yeah,
old fashioned.
I think that the point is, you see that, and then you see her walking around owning the land here, like she's the one in charge.
Yeah,
It's supposed to be the dichotomy, but I think it kind of comes off as a bit standard.
fact. Oh yeah, yeah. So it's not. It works, but it's not necessarily. It was one of the
Yeah,
weaker scenes in the episode. Actually, the little moment I really loved earlier on is when Roy first wakes up and he kind of like gets to his feet and he's still kind of stumbling and he ends up falling down again. But he walks out the barn for the first time and it's just kind of like at dusk kind of time, and Alice is walking towards him. It's a nice big wide shot, and she's in silhouette against the sun. But just as she's walking, she casually just picks up the shotgun from the well as she's doing it, and it's just a simple little thing. It's like, okay, I'm going to go speak to him, but just in case, like she's
yeah.
making it known.
I'm not taking any chances.
But it was just the way it was just subtly, and she was in silhouette, and she just sort of just
It was a really
casual.
fluid motion as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, okay, she's helped you, but she's not ready to trust you yet, and it just
Yeah,
so
I think it is undermined a little bit when she kind of outright says that a few times. She's like, "I don't trust you." I don't know. I think that undermines it a little bit because like I said, we did get it in the visuals already.
I think it worked in context of when she said it though, because it tended to be after he said something that would prompt like, no, I'm reinforcing this here.
Yeah, yeah.
So it at least worked in context. It didn't feel repetitious for the sake of like beating it into us.
No, I think once more would have done.
Yeah, yeah,
But
sure.
it just about avoided it.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, so we've already left this thing. Like, I was thinking he was going to be hiding here for like 3 or 4 episodes, but no, already he's going to back into town. And I almost wonder if this is going to turn into like an Assault on Precinct 13 style plot. If you don't know that movie, it's about a gang who murders a little girl at the start of the movie, and there's a witness, and the witness runs into a police station, Precinct 13, it's in the title, and this gang come to assault, again, in the title, the precinct, and basically the sheriff and like the 1 or 2 cops that are inside, because it's a precinct that's shutting down, so there's hardly anyone there, so they're really vulnerable, have to protect this witness, and it's cool stuff. They end up like actually getting a criminal who's there out of like and giving him a gun to help as an ally. It's a really cool early John Carpenter movie. I love it, but I'm almost wondering if that's going to be this kind of thing where they learn he's in the town and it's going to be okay.
The town kind of comes to protect him almost.
Yeah, I mean maybe even if the town doesn't come to protect him, just the idea that that's why they come to the town. That's why Frank and the gang come, is because they want to get him.
Yeah, yeah, I can see it.
I can see that being like a big thing. And it'd be like, hey, if you just hand them over, we'll sort it on through. But maybe like someone with some morals will be like, no, it doesn't matter. Like that's
That's
not
not how
the
this
way
works.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll have that standoff. And I think that could be a really cool moment if we get that. So I'm kind of okay with it just being the formula because it's doing it so goddamn well.
As long as it keeps up looking like this, and this level of quality, go ahead.
Yeah, like I said, that small moment for picking up the gun, the way it's telling its story, even if the story is familiar, is fine. Yeah. Like, I'm okay with that. And then give this director, something else to do next year. Give him
Give him everything.
Whatever he wants to do next as his next project, Netflix. Just give it to him.
I hope this brings in some people for them. It gets the social interactions that they look for, just so that they'll keep giving him stuff to do.
Oh yeah, I hope so. Maybe get nominated for some Emmys or something in the miniseries category.
That'd be cool.
I could see it. So that's cool. So what have we not talked about? There was definitely more Frank going around talking to people, I'm sure.
There was, but I do feel like that's some of the least interesting parts, because it's mostly just going, yeah, this guy's a dick.
Yeah,
that's a lot of what it is to me, at least. And that's fine. It's the first episode is just kind of going, hey, look, this is a bad guy. Really, just driving that point home, right? Every time you see him, it's just showing how he's in control, how he's powerful, how he's strong, how he's awful.
I think to its credit, I do feel like the episode because it's all about, you don't really know how they all connect. Everything's kind of like what's happened, and there's still some mystery to it. But I feel like when it comes all together at the end of the episode, and we end with Frank and his men like riding through the water, and it's like they're on a mission. I feel like it's clearly set up. Okay, this is what the show is going to be about. It's about them getting to him, and it's the momentum of that. And like I feel like by the end, I understand at least what the basic premise of the show is.
Yeah, definitely. Because I feel I didn't really know a lot going in.
No,
I basically knew, it's a miniseries, it's a western.
I knew Jeff Daniels was in it, and that was about it.
Yeah, I knew that too. I was like, okay, well, guess I'll give it a shot. New Netflix show. We typically give those a shot.
Yeah. Unless it obviously looks out of our interest.
For the most part, if it's got something that's like, okay, this could be all right, we'll give it a try. So I went in with pretty much no expectations, and then I saw it. I was like, okay, damn, this looks good.
Yeah. So we will all be doing the rest of it.
Unless for some reason the direction tanks. But if it's a one guy, I can't see that happening. I
doubt it. Yeah. Honestly, it feels like this is just going to be like an 8 to 9 hour movie once you add up all the time.
Yeah, pretty much about 8, I think.
Yeah, about 8. So. I'm okay with that. So, So let us know what you think of Godless. In the old comments below, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fudge for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailedfudgetv. You can do that over there. But otherwise, that's us. So thank you once again. We will be back with episode 2 lately on Friday. Because we have some things to cycle through before we whip back around. Because again, this came early. We were expecting to start this on Friday, but this one's up now. Episode 2 will be on Friday, and then we'll see what we can do about getting through them over the next week. Because we have another Netflix show hitting the following Friday to jump on to.
Yeah,
so
they're not giving us a break, are they?
No. Luckily, we don't like Punisher that much, so that's probably.
Oh, can you imagine if we were still going? Oh, we really like Punisher, but I know because we almost skipped this at one point. We were like, well, we got Punisher and then Dark, but maybe we should just leave Godless.
Oh yeah, Godless is better than Punisher. It's not even in the same realm.
Yeah.
Okay, so thanks very much for watching, guys. Once again, we always appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?